Hi everybody, welcome back to class. This is for the chemistry class. I'm Mr. Krupa. Today what we're going to be going over is your Flynn Lab Safety Contract. This safety contract must be signed by both you and your parents to be able to participate in lab. There is also a series of questions at the bottom here on the back page that need answered. I need to know, do you have contacts? Are you colorblind? And do you have allergies? I need to know if you have contacts so we can take extra precautions if need be. I need to know if you're colorblind, and it's also helpful to know what color you're colorblind with so that you're able to identify chemicals or supplies that are color-coded. And allergies, I need to know how to best keep you safe. I don't need to know if you're allergic to cats or dogs, considering we won't have any animals in here, or pollen. If it's seasonal allergies, those are not as important. But I do need to know, are you allergic to latex? Are you allergic to bees? Are you allergic to certain foods? Are you allergic to certain food ingredients in foods, like a food dye? These are the things that I need to concern myself with because they're things that you could be exposed to in this class. Again, animals and stuff like that, we will not have those in class. We will be going outside at times, so you may have pollen allergies. If they're severe, please let me know. But I need to know the things that you will most likely come into contact with in this class. Now with this, going over the safety contract, this is a chemistry class. Chemistry is very hands-on, and it's designed to be hands-on, and we're going to try to be as hands-on as possible this year. But to be hands-on, it includes more hazards and includes more dangers, and you must be safer with that. This contract goes over a lot of safety rules. There are on this contract 55 safety rules that you should be aware of. You will be quizzed on this safety contract and the rules that are inside of it. And you must pass that quiz if you want to participate in lab. So please be aware, when you get this contract, you should study it for the quiz that will be coming up. In addition to the stuff on this lab safety contract, you will be expected to know where it's at and how to use the safety equipment that is around the room, along as GHS pictograms, which we will be going over in class or another video. Going into this lab safety contract, no, I'm not going to go over each and every single one of the things that are here, but I am going to lump a lot of them together and go over the really big ones. But it is your job to go over this contract on your own and read over it. Before labs, if there are any specific rules that we need to review or be aware of, we will go over them beforehand. First thing in lab, when you come in, be responsible, no horse playing around. Come in, sit down, wait for instructions to be given to you. You can't be goofing around. When you're at lab, you can't be pushing, shoving, trying to goof off. There's too many things that can go wrong. You could break glassware. When you break glassware, you could spill something on yourself or others. You could not pay attention and mix something improperly, and then you have a mess or you have a really bad situation. You could have accidentally knocked the Bunsen burner on its side, and now there's flames shooting out to the side. There are so many things that can go wrong when you start to goof around, horseplay, and act irresponsible. There is going to be zero tolerance for this. If you decide to act irresponsible or goof off during lab, you will be removed from lab. Whenever you acting responsibly also means never working alone. Whenever you have lab, you will have a partner with you, at minimum one person. And that includes when you come to make up labs. Bring somebody with you from class who is able to work with you. They may have already started the lab, they may have already gotten past what you have to make up, or they may have completed the lab, but you must have a lab partner with you to help you out, to keep an eye on you. You watch each other's backs and make sure nothing's going wrong. Excuse me. Another part of acting responsible is never performing experiments that I don't tell you to do. Never come in and just try something that you want to try. If there's something you're curious about, please ask me. Let's try to look at it in class. Let's try to figure out a way to maybe test it. Those things are fun to do, but they must be done in a controlled environment and they must be done responsibly. You just can't come in mixing chemicals. And that also ties in with one of the rules of follow all my directions. If I say don't do something, don't do it. If I say to mix something in a certain order, you mix it in a certain order. The reason being is this. Yes, we have goggles that you are going to be wearing anytime we have chemicals or experiments going on. in class, you might have different chemicals that you're going to be using, and you need to mix them. Some of them look very similar to each other, and if you could see these two clearly, they're both white powdery substances. Sometimes you can't tell them apart, and I have them labeled, or you label them so you know what's what. If we say to mix chemical A into chemical B first, there's a reason. Nothing might happen, you're going to be safe. There's a chemical reaction that could occur under a controlled environment that I'm aware of. If you want to, you can't just go around trying your own things, trying to mix in a chemical like chemical C to B, because when you do that, you might get something happen that you don't want to have happen. Now you have a mess. This could be a dangerous chemical that's pouring out. It could be boiling hot liquid. This, in this case, is only vinegar and baking soda, so you would get off lucky. But mixing chemicals that you don't know what they are or what they'll do can get you seriously hurt. Follow verbal and written directions. Do not experiment on your own. The other part of this is do not eat or drink anything in lab. Do not bring any chewing gum into lab. And keep all that stuff off the lab area. We will go over where the lab area is. Yes, you're allowed to have water bottles this year. But the problem with having the water bottles in the chemistry lab is there might be chemicals on your hand. As you can see, there's some of the baking soda left on my finger. I could brush that off and say that it's gone, but there is still microscopic, there's still minuscule amounts of the chemical, or I might not see it, like that are still on my finger. What happens is with your water bottles, I go to take that off and I've touched the top of the water bottle and I go to put it in my mouth. I've now ingested whatever chemical is on my fingers. You can poison yourself by mistake. You don't want anything that is a chemical to get inside of your body. If it's on your hands, it's safe. We're just going to go wash it off in the sink and everything will be fine. No water bottles and no food during the lab area so you do not accidentally ingest chemicals. The same is going to go with keeping your hands away from your eyes, nose and mouth, and face in general. The mucous membranes in your nose and your eyes and in your mouth absorb things very easily. The chemical that's on my hand when I go to rub my eye could, 1, damage my eye, or 2, get into my body. Same thing if I ingest it with my mouth. When you're touching your pen or pencils, you're touching your hands all over it. That chemical may be on that pencil now. So you've got to pay attention. If you're one of those people that like to put the pen or pencil in your mouth, you've now ingested the chemicals that were on the pen. No food, no drink, no touching of the face. Make sure you dispose of all chemicals properly. Listen to, again, verbal written directions. Make sure you dispose of all chemicals in the proper spot. Some things can go in the trash can, and I will say so. Matches have to go in special bins. Make sure you pay attention to that. And some chemicals can go in the lab hood. You've got to pay attention where everything is going to go. With throwing away chemicals or disposing chemicals, please make sure you read all labels. Containers will be labeled of what chemical is what, and you should have labels on your chemicals to identify what is what. You don't want to misidentify, you don't want to get them mixed up because, again, many chemicals look the same. And you need to make sure you can identify what you have. This is very big in general. If you have any underlying medical condition, please let me know as soon as possible. Please write it on the safety contract, but also verbally let me know so I'm aware of it ahead of time. Some chemicals do not mix well with certain medical conditions, especially if somebody would be or become pregnant. We need to be aware of these medical issues or these medical conditions so that we can keep you as safe as possible, keep you away from certain chemicals, not perform certain experiments near you. Do not be afraid to speak up about that. Come talk to me in private. Send me an email saying you need to let me know. But we do need to be aware of those medical conditions to keep you as safe as possible. The clothing section on the safety contract. You must come dressed properly for lab at all times. If you're not properly dressed for lab, I cannot let you conduct lab. Any time that we have glassware out, equipment out, chemicals out, you're going to have on those goggles. The goggles that we use in class are chemical splash goggles. When you put them on, They seal tightly around your face to keep chemicals from splashing on you. Yes, they do fog up from time to time, so you may have to walk away from the lab area. When you walk away from the lab area to the front of the room or out in the hall for a second, you can pick up your goggles and get some air to stop them from fogging. They do have air vents that have seals over them to help with airflow, but they still do fog up. With contact lenses, if you wear contact lenses, I will not stop you from wearing contact lenses, but please be aware they do add an extra danger with proper dress. If you have contacts in and you get a chemical in your eye, contacts are absorbent, so that they're going to absorb that chemical and continue to burn your eye. We have to remove the contact and then get you to the eye wash station, which is behind me, as soon as possible. But before we can really start washing, we have to get that contact out of your eye to save your eyes. And please be aware with any type of eye, anything in your eye, please let me know as soon as possible. It can only take 10 seconds to do permanent damage to someone's eyes. With proper dress, make sure you have clothing that isn't too baggy. If this is a little baggy, and I do have to be very careful with that. If you have sweatshirts that have strings dangling, tucked in the strings, or take the sweatshirt off. I recommend stuff that covers your arms. Try not to have your arms fully exposed. Stuff that comes down is really great to protect, but I'm not going to require that you wear a long sleeve shirt, especially in this hot weather. Please be aware of the type of material shirts and pants are made out of. This is a stretchy material. Those stretchy materials, the athletic type wear, if they ever catch fire, they have a tendency to melt to your skin before they completely burn. Cotton will just catch fire and burn, but this stuff will have a tendency to melt first. Long pants are going to be preferable for lab, but a requirement will be your shoes. Make sure you have closed-toed shoes. No flip-flops, no sandals, no Crocs, nothing that have holes in them. And I also do not recommend heels during lab time so that you can walk properly. Long hair must be tied back. If you have long hair, I do have hair bands that you can have. You just ask for one and I will give you one. Long hair should be tied back at all times. Long dangling jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, those types of things. I recommend, or not recommend, you will be taking them off in class. We can't have that. If you're leaning over a beaker or leaning over trying to measure something and your necklace catches on something and pulls it down on top of you, you may have a chemical spilled on you now. The same will go with rings. I recommend taking your rings off before lab, so whenever you go to grab a hold of a glassware, your ring does not break it. The other part with dress this year, we already know we have to wear goggles. During labs, you're also going to be wearing lab aprons. They kind of look like butcher aprons, but they'll tie in the back. These will help protect your clothes. They go down pretty far in your legs so that they'll cover a good portion of your legs if for some reason you wouldn't wear long pants, but these are chemical resistant materials. You will also be required to wear gloves anytime that we are doing an experiment or using equipment in class. All gloves are nitrile based, so you don't have to worry about the latex. I have medium, large, and extra large. After you put them on, do not touch your face. If you start touching your face, we have to get you a new pair of gloves. If you leave the room, you need a new pair of gloves. You can't wear these out because, again, chemicals might be on your hands. When you go to dispose of your gloves to help reduce exposure to your clean hands underneath and others around you, especially janitors who will be cleaning up the garbage at another time, take your gloves and pinch it at about the palm. Pull it off, invert your glove, ball it up into the other glove. Grab underneath this glove so you can get it without having to hold on to it. Invert it. Everything is now contained. It can be thrown away. If you hunt, there's a good chance when you wear gloves to gut a deer, that's how you probably take them off. The other thing is just precautions. Make sure if you have a lot of hairspray in your hair, be aware that hairspray is flammable. Hair is already very flammable, but hairspray makes it even more flammable. Long fingernails make it very hard to grasp things. and they can be very dangerous. So I recommend during times of lab, I may recommend don't have long fingernails. And I may say if they're too long, you're going to have to remove them before you can really, maybe the next day have them off so that you can participate in lab. The fake nails are also flammable. You do not want those to catch on fire because they are farther away from your finger. You may not even know when they're near something like a open flame. Any accidents in here, accidents and injuries, please simply report them to me immediately. I don't care how big, how small. I need to know. If you got a paper cut, let me know so we can get a Band-Aid on. You're not bleeding everywhere. If you cut yourself on glass, let me know so I know, 1, to get the glass cleaned up, 2, to get you down to the nurse or get a Band-Aid on you, 3, I know if there was a chemical in that glassware so we can know exactly what might have got inside of your body through the cut. In the lab contract, it says if there is an accident, yell code 1, code 1. Do not yell code 1. Simply let me know, Mr. Krupa, Johnny cut his hand. In here it says if there is a fire, also to let me know. Simply say, Mr. Krupa, the room is on fire. If you're on fire, we're going to know it pretty fast. Stop, drop, roll. Immediately. Don't wait around to tell me stop, drop, roll. If chemicals splash in your eyes, immediately let me know. Mr. Krupa, there's a chemical in my eye. You do not need to wait for me. Immediately head back to the green bin there, which is the eye wash station, and we are going to start to flush your eyes. We need to get you there as soon as possible. With handling chemicals, all chemicals in the lab are to be considered dangerous. You don't know what anything is until I tell you what it is. And you really don't know what it is if you didn't listen to directions earlier and follow proper labeling procedures and you got your labels mixed up. This is why all chemicals must be considered dangerous. I have 2 test tubes here. One test tube contains something extremely dangerous called sulfuric acid. Another one contains something very, very nice, which is water. You can't really tell what they are because they're both clear, colorless liquids. You must assume both of these are sulfuric acid so you can be as safe as possible and you treat them both like they're sulfuric acid because you might not know right off the top of your head. The reason being is this. In here I have a wet sponge. One of these substances will react with the wet sponge. Substance 1. Nothing happens because it is water. No reaction there. But if you would have grabbed the wrong test tube, again, clear, colorless liquid, and again, if there's any spill, please get it cleaned up as soon as possible. Let me know if there are any spills. This goes back to accidents and injuries. Sulfuric acid, because you might not have known, a reaction starts to occur. It starts to eat the sponge away. You would not want to have got that on you. You would not have wanted to get that near your lab partner. You've got to treat everything like it's dangerous like that. And it does smell horrible, if you're wondering. But you must consider all chemicals dangerous and check the labels on them. I will label or tell you to label something. Check my labels, check your labels so you know what is what. With your chemicals, after you use them in lab, never return them to the original container. Some of the chemicals, after you take them out of the container, are now exposed to water in the air and other chemicals around you. And when you return the original chemical to the original container, you could contaminate an entire sample. We can't have you contaminating some of these chemicals just because they're so expensive and we're wasting materials. So only dispose of them properly again. And this is a big one. Never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, remove chemicals from this room. There may be times that we go to do a demonstration somewhere and you will have my explicit permission to take something out of the room and I will be with you and I will be the one removing it. You do not take anything out of this room. Equipment may leave the room with my permission, but not just taking it out. And then finally, with just any of the glassware, going over some of the stuff, please examine all the glassware and equipment in general before you use it. If there's a chip in the glassware, let me know so we can dispose of that equipment properly, or that piece of glassware, so that it doesn't break. If there is a chip or crack, if you're using it, it could spread to the whole entire piece of glassware and shatter, and you could have a chemical boiling hot liquid pour all over you. We don't want that to happen, or it could just cut your hand all up. Please report any damaged electrical equipment or even any hoses for the Bunsen burner. If it looks fishy, let me know. If there's a frayed wire on a piece of equipment, let me know. If something just doesn't look right, equipment-wise, glassware-wise, immediately let me know so we can take care of it. If you do not understand how to use a piece of equipment, ask. Even if you forgot after I went over it, I'm going to tell you to pay attention this time, but ask. I do not want you to use any chemicals, any equipment in this room without fully understanding what you're doing. You could seriously hurt yourself or others. And then finally, the last little piece here, when we start heating substances, it goes in with the checking and handling your glassware. If you're heating substances, this is again common sense. If I'm heating this beaker, here's where everything is going to come out of. Never look directly down the beaker into the boiling substance. Don't look directly over it. The beaker is clear and colorless, so you can see into it for a reason. And if there is chemical in here and you are testing physical properties and you're looking for the smell, never go to smell a chemical that is in a container directly. You could really hurt yourself. There's a lot of chemicals that the vapors will sear the mucous membranes in your nose, down your throat, and it's a horrible, horrible, horrible feeling whenever you get some of these chemicals, breathe them in. What you will do instead is waft it towards yourself. I tell the students, get fancy, and you're going to waft the chemicals towards yourself so that you do not get full-blown vapors from that chemical. That is all of the rules that I'm going to be going over with you now. This video is a little bit longer, but this is something that is very important. All of the other chemicals on here, or all of the other rules that are on here, you should go over on your own time. You will be quizzed on this, and I will go over specific rules with you as we go through different labs, and I will bring these up, so you should have this on you at all times. If you ever lose this copy, ask me for it, or it's always on Google Classroom under Syllabus and Lab Safety Contract. Thank you everybody for your time. I look forward to having you in class this year. I look forward to having a good time during labs. I'm in any hands-on activities. Have a wonderful day.